What's up, guys? Happy Friday. I'm Chuck Silver. This is DFS Jayhawk, and we got a nice little 6-7 gamer to bring you tonight. I believe the slates are the same on both sides, DraftKings and FanDuel. Jayhawk, how we doing?
Doing great, man. We were just talking. It's a great day for NBA DFS, and on the video game side, we got a bunch of drops we've been enjoying. So great day overall. Excited to break down this big slate with a lot of news here.
Yeah, and we do have a lot of news. And yesterday, Ao Desunmu, are you kidding me? Jayhawk was on it, so that's why it's important to hang out in the Discord, even if you watch the stream. Like I mentioned, we have a few hosts, so we all get a few different ideas. But yeah, Ao, and then we kind of have to make a decision on him today with Kobe White still being questionable. Do you have a lean on if Kobe White's in or out today?
Yeah, I feel like we both kind of thought he potentially sits here. I don't really
Mhm.
see any need for them to play him tonight. Indiana's, I mean, they're a good team, but I think he could probably sit again. So
And so we do have him in, and I built as if he's playing. This game is it's like in the third set of games. So we just have one game starting at lock, then we have two more at half hour after that, and then the Bulls game will be right after that. So I mean, as it is right now, if Kobe White's in, what's your interest in this Bulls team?
yeah, so if Kobe White's in here, I think it's kind of a hit to all these guys overall, especially the guards here. But I think Vooch, either way, even if Kobe plays, I still like in tournaments. But I feel like guys like Ao and Giddy would probably be the biggest, guys that take it.
Yeah, I agree. And Giddy, I mean, he was chalk yesterday. The Bulls starters kind of got benched a little bit in the first half. They I guess they weren't playing well, and then the bench came in, and the bench started killing off. They opened up almost a 20-point lead. Starters came back in the third quarter, and they got their regular minutes in the second half. They started playing better, but I don't know. To me, these guys are all just kind of GPP plays. We saw Vooch with a blow up game last night. I think he's fine even at that 12 and 17%. I mean, this is a matchup against Indiana, and to me, there's like four really good game environments on the slate tonight: Lakers, Atlanta, Boston, Milwaukee, Indiana, Chicago, and Utah, Portland. And to me, this might be the best one. When I'm just looking at the ownerships of these guys, these seem like teams I want to get over the field on.
Yeah, I love that call. And two bad defensive teams, low ownership. This game should be really good in tournaments. So love that call.
Like, it's a 249 total. That's kind of insane. I want to say this is even higher than it was earlier. I don't think it was 249 when I first looked at the slate, but the problem is picking out who to play from this group of guys because they're all kind of appropriately priced, if not maybe a couple $100 overpriced. But all their ownerships are so low. I think I just kind of want to get over the field on basically everybody.
Yeah, and they did bump guys like Matas, and I think they bumped Taylor Horton Tucker too. But still, guys, I think we can mix in for value in tournaments.
So yesterday, like THT was a big part of the slate. I think he probably deserved to be because he was kind of the obvious value that we could project for 20 minutes. He's projected at 0% today, 4,100. This 13 minutes is with Kobe White being in. If Kobe White's out, I think we can consider THT again. I mean, gigantic total. I can't imagine the ownership's really going to get there. So I'd be interested in going back if Kobe White's out. Just the 4,100 with everyone in, it's a little bit too much. If he was like, I don't know, 3,600, I'd probably have some interest here.
Yeah,
And Lonzo's playing tonight too, so it's just going to take a couple minutes away from other guys in the rotation.
Zach, yeah, that's a big piece of news too.
What's up, Heath? How we doing today, man? Happy Friday. Power. Chicago wants to keep their pick. They better sit someone. That's the thing. Like against Indiana, maybe against most teams. I mean, it probably doesn't matter. You probably don't have a choice whether they win or lose anyway. You like the Drew Holiday revenge game? Yeah, we'll take a look at Drew Holiday. I had a note about his minutes when we get to the Celtics, but I wanted to take a look at the other side of this game because they're pulling much more ownership. So we've seen this a few times where one team is kind of chalk and the other team in the same great matchup is not pulling ownership. I mean, we just saw it 2 nights ago with Boston and the Pistons. Now, that's a little different situation, but I still think we have a lot of interest in these Indiana guys. My interest starts with Benedict Mathurin over on FanDuel at this misprice of 6K. What are you looking at on this Indiana team?
Yeah, so the chalk here is within the guards with Halliburton and McConnell. I think they're both pretty solid here. I was leaning getting more McConnell, but I think it's a good spot here for shooters overall for Indiana against this Chicago team. So like McConnell, like Hallie. And then I want to talk about Toppin because he has been incredible off the bench, man. I think he's almost been producing near 2 point per minute in his minutes or 2 point per minute fantasy in his minutes. So let's talk about him. What do you think about Obi Toppin here?
I've been way over the field on Obi the past couple days, and it's like the first time, I think 2 slates ago, it was a little uncomfortable. And then last time, coming off a good game, still no one wanted to play him, and we needed value. So I was over the field, and today I'm well over the field again, just 3,600. And what you said about, his rate of production has been so good lately. We still only have him projected for 20 minutes. And it's like these are the type of players I'd rather play when they're much lower owned, but I do kind of understand why he's pulling this ownership today. We need this salary at the power forward position. So I don't mind it. As it is right now on DraftKings, I have a little bit more than this 24%.
Yeah, I like that. He's 3,600, so he doesn't have to do too much to pay off value as well.
And then on FanDuel, even at this 4,500 price, we have him projected for 8% ownership. I might end up around 8%. I have 6% in my exposures on FanDuel right now. Still need to adjust things. So I will have him in there. Probably not more than 10%, though. The player I mentioned I have the most interest in here, though, is Benedict Mathurin, because what are we doing with this 6K price, man?
Yeah, dude. On FanDuel, that seems way too cheap. So definitely, probably I'd say even like 1,000 too cheap here, right? So yeah,
Yes.
love that call there.
Yeah, like if he was 7K, we would still he'd be more of a GPP play at 7K, but we'd still be considering him at 6K because I mean I've mentioned this with Mathurin before. The fear last year was his minutes could get taken away at any moment, but we haven't really had to worry about that this year. Like yes, it's still possible, but we have to operate it as if he's going to play. The 35 minutes we have him projected for, which is a pretty reasonable projection. Maybe take away a minute, maybe it's a little bit high, but he's been good. Like I mentioned, this is the game we want to target. I think Mathurin is the best piece from this game. So as of right now, he's my highest exposed player on FanDuel.
Yeah, love that call. Especially, 3-point shooting, Chicago is just bad. So yeah, love that.
And we're going to go through almost every player here. This is a really big spot on the slate. But what about their top guy, Tyrese Halliburton? How do we feel about playing him tonight, even on the road? It's a 250 total. It's the first one we've had this year.
Yeah, man, I do like him, and I typically don't love rostering Hallie on big slates, but this is kind of a nuts spot here for him overall. So I like, Toppin, McConnell, Hallie. I'm gonna have a lot of all of those guys. So yeah, love Hallie in tournaments here.
Because looking at 8,500 Hallie, it sounds really good. And then you hear the total, it's just like, dude, his price should be much higher. Excuse me.
Yeah.
But we haven't projected for 36 minutes. I've been talking about how poorly he's been playing on the road. He's played on the road 2 games in a row. Like he hasn't won a tournament, but he hasn't played poorly either. So I don't know if it was injury or what's going on with him. But I mean, 3 games on the road, 2 of them were okay. 1 of them was good. I don't really care about that tonight. I think I kind of just want to end up around the field. I don't know that I have that I want to get over on Hallie, but I'm kind of like, how can we fade him? He's a starting point guard in the highest total game of the season.
Yeah, right there with you. One of the best, guard plays on the slate here for sure.
And then Pascal, I mean, I'm getting a bunch of Pascal too, man. What do we think about Siakam?
So yeah, Siakam's fine. He's been kind of up and down recently in terms of production, but once again, you mentioned it, high total game. Another guy I think is probably underowned for his potential reaching the winning lineup. So yeah, I think he's firmly in play as well.
I will say I actually had to bump Pascal to even get him to show up on DraftKings, but over on FanDuel, I have him for this 35 minutes, and I'm at 15%, which I guess is like half the field. So I'll see how that ends up as we get closer to lock. And then not to spend all the time on Indiana, but Miles Turner has a double-digit OF index today. He is rated higher than Pascal, much better DK value score, stronger FanDuel value score, lower ownership. The price is getting close to there on FanDuel, but I think this is a spot that we can at least get over the 5%. And then 6,700 on DK at 12% sounds pretty good to mix into.
Yeah, I don't hate Turner. You mentioned something important. Didn't you say he hasn't been getting nearly as many blocks as he typically
Dude,
does?
I said this the other day, and then he had 3 blocks in the first half, and I'm like, dude, why do I even say anything on the stream? It's like, but it's true though. He hasn't been the block shotter we need. Like he's getting these 5 block games, but I don't know. Just I don't see the ceiling here, and the field wants to play him so much every day. Today at 12%, I'm getting there in this high total game. I think this is a spot that we do play Miles Turner, even if you're kind of bearish on him like I am.
Yeah.
Any other notes on Indiana, TJ McConnell, Nemhard, Jarace Walker, maybe?
I've not been on the Jarace Walker train. I know some people have, so I'm probably not going to have very much time. But everyone else, I like in tournaments here.
Yep. And Nemhard, it's tough because we have no idea what the minutes are going to be. He's projected for 20. It's really hard to project him for more. This is like already kind of a high minutes projection. I gave him, what did I give him? Oh, I actually had to give him 21 minutes, and I have 4% on FanDuel right now. So don't look at the 4%. Just I have him showing up a little bit. And then TJ McConnell, especially if you're going to get away from Hallie a little bit, I think it's okay to play a little bit more TJ, but it's not a requirement.
Yeah. I think getting to one of those guards and, I don't know, at least like 20% of your lineups is probably a sharp thing to do.
Let's take a look at quick Yahoo values for a Thugga. You got a friend on the show now, Thuggin. Smitty's a Yahoo man. So, I mean, typical guys. Yabusele, Sochan, who's one of my absolute favorite plays on both sides, on any side, I guess. Then we got some deep shots like Kamara, maybe Champagne Castle, Looney, Dyson Daniels, Keontae George. This top of Yahoo value looks pretty strong to me today. Even at $23, like I don't play on Yahoo, but that sounds expensive for Sochan. But Model is saying he's really strong play.
Yeah, I think he's one of the top players on every site here. So yeah, definitely saw him.
Gowanus. Yeah, let's take a look at Gowanus. They're going up against Boston and 228 total. 8.5 point spread. Bucks are not good, man. This should not be an 8.5 point spread. Like on paper, it shouldn't be. In reality, yeah, it should be. But Giannis, top of the OF index, not pulling any ownership. I mean, I don't know that we have the value to fit him in comfortably, but let's say some value comes out later. How much do you want to get Giannis into your lineups today?
Man, this is tough because last slate I loved Giannis, or the last slate he was on, I loved Giannis. This just seems like a very tough matchup here for him against Boston. If we get more value, I may want to get a little bit more of him, but as of right now, I don't have a ton of Giannis, and it doesn't feel great. But just kind of hoping he doesn't go for like 80 into me.
Yeah, I mean that's exactly it. Jokic put up what 72 on DraftKings yesterday, and I don't know if he even ended up being in the winning lineup on FanDuel. I don't think he was. It was Vooch. And so that's the thing. Like, if we have the value to get there, sure, absolutely. But today, I got 0% Giannis on DraftKings, and then I even bumped him a little bit to try and just get a few percent, and it still wouldn't do it. So this game starts in that second set of games, so maybe we have some value open up before then. But without getting more value, it's so hard to fit in Giannis today. And to be fair, his industry projection is kind of low, so I kind of get why his percentage is so low here. But I feel like this is a guy that we have to have at least 1% in our exposures, right?
Yeah, he's just a guy that can break the slate at any time. So just getting at least 1 to 2% probably to cover you is the best thing to do.
Like I just gave him another 2 points in projection and reran it, and I'm still getting 0% on FanDuel. So
yeah,
it's really tough. What about from the other guys on Milwaukee? I mean, no one is pulling ownership here, and I mentioned like Cade Cunningham was a really good play against Boston the other day. It was a much bigger spread. No one wanted to play Detroit. Boston was favored by like 15 points. This is a little different. It's not quite the blow up, but it's still similar that no one wants to play these guys against Boston. And honestly, like maybe in real life, Boston is really good on defense, but for DFS purposes, they are not a team I fear. Like they don't play at a slow enough pace to deter me from playing the guys that, on the teams are playing against. And I don't think that their defense is so suffocating that, we can't play the guys on the other side. I've just seen it so many times this season that players playing against Boston are underprojected. Their minutes are probably low, and they end up in winning lineups. And so I'm not saying tonight necessarily Milwaukee's a spot to like really target, but I do think we can get some percents to Giannis, Dame, maybe Brooke Lopez. Not sure about the rest of the team though.
Yeah, I like that, Colin. You nailed it with Cade. I mean, he's still Cade Cunningham, even in that tough matchup. They're stars for a reason, right? They can put up huge scores in the worst matchup. So I don't hate getting maybe like 1 to 2%, but overall, definitely tough plays to optimally click on here.
Yeah, and if you're going to do that, because these guys are not going to show up if you're using an optimizer, you have to bump them up pretty hard to get there. And so just do it with the obvious guys, Giannis, Dame, and Brooke. You don't even have to think about these other guys.
Yeah, 100%.
Just real quick, looking at the other side, Boston. Did Tatum get ruled in for sure, or was he probable?
He was at shoot-around this morning, so I'm expecting him to play.
Okay, nice. So Tatum's in, and I saw a question about Drew Holiday earlier. We haven't projected for 31 minutes. I actually kind of thought his ownership was going to come in higher because I heard his name on another show I was watching earlier. But Drew Holiday, I mean, 5,100 on DraftKings. Minutes projection is good. Could even be a little bit low. I mean, is this a spot that the field is probably a little light on?
I think he's fine. I kind of prefer, obviously, a different price point, but I do kind of prefer White in this matchup, Derek White. But I think both of them, Milwaukee plays that drop coverage. I think they can both, hit their threes from the outside. So I don't hate it, but I'm not like in love with the play. What do you think?
I will say the models identifying Drew Holiday as one of the top values over on DraftKings, along with four Spurs guys, Drew Holiday and Miles Turner. That's our top value on DraftKings today. Nice. Over on FanDuel, Drew Holiday is still showing up as a very strong value. And so I'm not in love with him. I don't even know that I want to get 2x the field, but I'd like to have at least this 11 and 13%. I mean, the model's telling us he's a guy that we probably want to have more ownership on.
Yeah. I think he's probably good play at that ownership. If he gets to I don't know if you agree with this, but if he gets to 25%, that's probably where I'd want to go, a little bit underweight. But right now, I think he's great play.
Yeah, 25%. I'm not going to get up. I don't imagine I'm going to get up to 25% on Drew Holiday today. But if his ownership went there, that's fine. I'm not going to adjust my exposures, to try to find leverage there. I'll just, whatever Drew Holiday I get, I will keep. And I was going to mention, he's coming in with almost a third of the ownership as Stephon Castle. He's a couple hundred more. I like Stephon Castle today. I don't necessarily think we want to get away from him, especially the model's telling us he's a really good play. So it's a possible pivot, but I think we can just play both if you want to get there.
Yeah, I would just probably play both if that was for me.
From the rest of Boston, I mean, they're not really pulling that much ownership either. Are you taking shots on Tatum or Brown?
So I want to with potentially one of them. I don't know. Maybe Tatum, but I don't know. Brown, picking those two on this slate, you got to pick the right one and then obviously have them hit their ceiling game to win a tournament. So I lean Tatum, but it's a tough decision for me there, man. What do you think about these two?
I'm currently getting no exposure to anyone on this team except for Drew Holiday and then Derek White over on FanDuel. And so maybe I'll adjust a couple things. I mean, I mentioned this is a pretty good environment for fantasy points, even with the lower-ish total. But yeah, it's going to be a little bit tough. So Drew Holiday, Derek White, maybe mix in Tatum and Brown as GPP plays. And then Al Horford is showing up as a really strong value on this team too at 4 and 1%. I mean, it could be a spot with Al Horford. No Porzingis. No one's considering him. This is a spot we can probably get over 4 and 1%. It's not too hard.
Yeah, and especially if Horford decides to shoot from the 3-point line more, less in the interior, I think he's probably a good play at that ownership. But that's our hope, obviously. If he tries to go in the post, he's probably going to get dominated. But yeah.
We haven't projected for 28 minutes, and maybe we could even give him another minute or two, which would make him show up as a really strong value. So keep that in mind. Al Horford, a GPP value play today. This is not the type of guy you jam in hard, though, just a few percent.
Yeah.
Does a 20-minute player really help you win a GPP? Helped me the other night. Yeah. Don't think of it so much as the individual player. You got to look at it in the context of constructing your overall lineup. And it's Jordan Miller put up 14 points the other night, and he was still in the lineup that showed up at the top. I mean, granted, kind of had the nuts around him, but that's the power of these cheap guys is they let you fit in the top players who perform, and then you just need some fantasy points from these 20-minute guys. And we've seen it before, like Jayhawk mentioned Obi Toppin earlier. We see guys like Bobby Portis, Bones Highland. I mean, they might not play 20 minutes sometimes, but we've seen them put up really good fantasy scores, and it's something you can't capture in median projection. So that's why we play tournaments. You got to take some spots, I guess.
Yeah, you got to take risks if you want to win tournaments. You can't just rely on everyone that's chalky, and you got to take some shots. So agreed.
Giannis birthday narrative. Is it Giannis' birthday today? Giannis on what's today? December 6th.
Yeah.
All right, let's do some very scientific research on this real quick. Giannis on December 6th. It's no good. Yeah, party's too hard the night before. Very scientific analysis there. Any priorities in the 10 o'clock games? I'm on the West Coast, so I'm assuming that is Minnesota, Golden State, Utah, Portland. Yeah, Utah, Portland's a spot. Let's go ahead and jump over there. I know we've only gone over like 4 teams, or I guess we've gone through 6 teams so far, but yeah, let's go start with the Utah side. I mentioned this is like such a top fantasy environment despite the again, kind of lowish total. These guys aren't pulling the ownership I think they deserve. What spots are you interested in Utah?
Yeah, so for Utah, I love one player in particular, Walker Kessler here. I know he's a fan favorite on Occupy. I think this is a really good spot for his price in this matchup. So love Kessler for Utah. And then for the rest of them here, I think it's fine to sprinkle in guys like Markkanen, Keontae, but in terms of who I like, I'm just getting to a bunch of Kessler in tournaments. Did you have a lean there?
Yeah, Kessler I like. He's going up against Aiton. So Aiton to me is the best center play on the slate. So I'm just getting a ton more Aiton. Had to bump up Kessler actually to even get like a reasonable percent of him. But I like Laurie as a tournament play. He's down to 7K, double digit OF index, strong value. Not as strong on FanDuel at the 7,500, but 13% Laurie. He hasn't been the Laurie that we're expecting, but projected for 34 minutes, he's probably worth more than 13% tonight. Yeah, I think Walker Kessler at these ownerships is definitely fine as a GPP play. And then Keontae George and Colin Sexton are two guys that show up almost every day because their prices just make lineups work. And I don't like playing them together. I don't even like playing one of them in a lineup. But what's your opinion on Sexton and Keontae George?
I'm right there with you, man. It's impossible to navigate these two. I think George probably is the way I want to go. Sexton is just he's just to me he's so reliant off scoring. Keontae does a lot more, so I might get a little bit of Keontae, but Sexton's just really tough for me to get to, man. I don't know what it is, but
Yeah, it's like we know these guys have ceilings, and Sexton at 62 and 5,700 with a 9.5 OF index is crazy. Like we should be listening to this, and so I have Sexton in my exposures just because the model is telling me to. But if it wasn't for this, it's so hard for me to have interest in him there.
yeah, agreed.
And then Keontae, like I have exposure to both these guys. I'm around 25% on FanDuel, but I just got to figure out how to balance it because I don't know. Model's telling us Sexton is a much stronger play than Keontae George tonight.
Yeah, it's so tough. I bring this up a lot, but just navigating their minutes with their coach is just always the worst with the guards here.
And I've pointed this out before. Like Sexton really, like we're really interested in Sexton when Laurie is out for some reason. Clarkson's out, but it just doesn't affect Sexton, I think, the way that the field thinks. But the field's not getting there. And 9.5 OF index for his price, we can't ignore.
Yeah, definitely under owned.
Other side of this game, Portland mentioned DeAndre Ayton, my favorite center play on FanDuel, 6,100 is just super wrong. We only have him projected for 31 minutes, projected for 34% ownership. Pretty strong OF index. Actually, still not even as high as Colin Sexton. And Colin Sexton's a little bit cheaper, but DeAndre Ayton, what do you think about him?
Yeah, man, I'm kind of confused what FanDuel did for pricing today with Mather and Aiden, but yeah, Aiden should not be 6K. Kessler isn't a great matchup, but it's still DeAndre Aiden at 6K, so love that call out with Aiden there.
I didn't even realize this. Like that's why I got no Kessler exposure. I have 85% Aiden on FanDuel right now. I'm going to change that, but I mean, my initial run, and I already made some adjustments too. It just Aiden stands out very hard as a like. I mean, if you're playing cash on FanDuel, this is him and Mathurin are probably the first two players in your lineup. Going beyond Aiden, I have GPP interest in Anthony Simons and Shaden Sharp. Getting some Tumani Kamara over on FanDuel, that 4,800 price is pretty useful. What else are you looking at here?
Yeah, so I don't hate those shouts. Scoot's back in, right? For Portland? I think he is.
He's questionable unless he got ruled in and I missed it.
Questionable? Yeah, I think you're right. If Scoot plays here, I think it probably would negate some of the interest I'd have in Sharp and Simons, but I think both Simons and Sharp are fine. I wasn't getting much of either. And then you mentioned Kamara. I just on DraftKings, I don't love the price point there, but he's not the worst play. And then Jeremy Grant's, I never can pick out this dude on paper. Probably a good spot at his price, but I can never get him right, man. So maybe I should. What's your take here on Grant?
Like Grant used to be a guy I looked at when he was around 6K. I want to be over the field on him every single slate, no matter who the matchup is, no matter what else is going on, just because he randomly would have that ceiling. But he's been getting the minutes 35, 37, 33, 39, and we just haven't seen it. He's only taking 10, 11 shots. Like this is not the Jeremy Grant, like the DFS.
Pistons, Jeremy Grant.
Yeah, like the ceiling play that we look for. I mean, we're not playing Jeremy Grant to take 11 shots, and so it's tough. I will say he is showing up for me again. His price is really easy to work with on both sites, more so on FanDuel. But I think he's a GPP play. If he's pulling heavy ownership, I don't know. I guess I'm half the field on Jeremy Grant on FanDuel right now, so we'll see where I end up there.
Yeah, man, I wish I could get him right, but I think he's fine at 11%.
And like Denny's a guy I usually mention when we talk about Portland. He still kind of plays the backup center minutes, but it's still not enough. We only have him projected for 25. If he was like 5K, I'd have a lot of interest, but this is just a little bit too much for me to even mix in today, so I'm going to have 0.
Yeah, right there with you. I always prefer him when Grant sits, but yeah, probably 0.
And then let's say Scoot Henderson gets ruled out. Speaking of guys projected for under 20 minutes, Delano Banton, pretty sure his minutes projection would go up to like 22, which I want to say is what it's been when Scoot's been out. We have him projected for 17 at 4,600 on DraftKings. Delano Banton. To me, this is a guy that's never going to show up in optimizers unless you put him in specifically because of that ceiling. And you just have to be willing to take the days where he puts up 20 because sometimes puts up 37. But that's only if Scoot's out. He's like a low percent mix-in.
Yeah, was just going to mention that if Scoot's out, fine to mix him in, but if Scoot plays, I won't have any banking.
And then I did mention Anthony Simons. I just think he's a really strong GPP play at this price. He's losing minutes because of blowout sometime. He fouled out in 23 minutes. Like, what are you doing, dude? He was about to win everyone tournaments that night. But I kind of wish his ownership was a little bit lower, 10 and 14%. I'm going to be over that.
Yeah, I haven't decided what I want to do with him. I think he's fine. I do prefer, you mentioned Aiden on FanDuel and maybe one of the other guards, but yeah, I don't know what I want to do with him.
And I'm not talking about like 30, 40% jam. As long as I'm in the double digits on Simons, I'll be happy about it.
Yeah.
All right, let's see. The way JJ Redick went off, you could see Max Christie starting over Connector Rui. I don't want to talk about this team, man. I was really about to flip my desk last time. Like, how does Anthony Davis only take 6 shots and a half? And Gabe Davis also took 6 shots and a half. I just don't understand. So, go ahead.
I was just saying, I'm hoping that people are biased about AD because I think he's in the nutted spot here in tournaments. So,
I mean, overall, he's second on the OF index only to Giannis, and it's like we can afford the salary much more easily than we can Giannis. AD's pulling ownership. He's had 2 awful games in a row, and I've been over the field on both. Completely screwed me both times, but going right back there, don't really care. LeBron actually lower in the model than we've been used to recently. His value scores are very poor, but he's still pulling a lot of ownership. I will say LeBron's fantasy points per minute average this year is still like top in the NBA. And so I don't know. That's why he's still showing up in optimizers as much as he is. What do you think about this team overall?
Yeah, I think there's a ton of great plays here for the Lakers here. Obviously, we'll cover Russell, but LeBron and AD both great up top. Probably going to have more AD just because I love getting up to him at center. And then LeBron's still fine. And you mentioned it. It's just insane what he's doing right now at his age. I mean, no one else I feel like will ever be able to do what he's doing. So, pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean, he's the greatest basketball player of all time.
Agreed. Actually,
Dalton Connect. I mean, people are still playing him more. I actually wouldn't even be surprised if he came in over this because I think people just have it in their minds that he could blow up for 40, which he can. That comment in the chat, though, if Dalton's not starting, he's going to be really tough to play because his ownership probably just comes in too high anyway. But if Dalton's starting, I don't mind it. I think he's still a fine play at 4,700.
Yeah, I mean, dude, how many times have we said we're playing this guy and he's just nuked our lineups? But I'm going to keep going back, especially with Reeves back. I mean, Reeves out once again. Good matchup. I'm probably going to go back in tournaments.
And that, I mean, if Max Christie ends up sliding into the starting lineup, the thing is, I'd like to see his ownership because how many times have we gotten burned this year by jamming in some value that shows up very close to lock? We don't have as much time to process how good of a play he actually is. And so that's been one of my biggest leaks this year is just, we see some shiny new toy half hour after lock or even right before lock, and we end up jamming him in, and the field does too, and it just burns everybody. It happened yesterday, actually, with Bruno Fernando. Kind of got there in the end, but point is, Max Christie would be a really good play if he ends up starting, but just be careful about like jamming him in and keep an eye on the ownership.
Yeah, I probably wouldn't get to too much Christie. I just don't love him playing with LeBron and AD. It's the biggest thing for me.
Man, I did not realize how far behind we are in questions. Sorry, fellas. Shaden Sharp at Dosunmu.
Ooh, that's tough. I would say Ao, but that's assuming Kobe's out. If Kobe's in, it's probably a closer question for me. What do you think?
Even with Kobe in, the model has AO on DraftKings over Shaden Sharp by quite a bit, and also on FanDuel by quite a bit. AO projected for 5% ownership, Shaden for 11, so it's not like you're saving that much ownership. So to me, I would say AO is probably just a better play straight up.
Yeah, and we did just get news. Kobe White just got ruled in like 30 seconds.
Okay, nice. And so, I mean, as long as I have to assume AO starts again, I don't see why he wouldn't. Projected for 30 minutes. Maybe it's a little bit high, but if he's playing well, we saw him stay on the court with the bench when the rest of those starters got benched yesterday. So 5% is probably too little. I'm kind of surprised the field doesn't chase like they used to. Like 3 years ago, AO would be 25% owned today just because he went off yesterday.
Yeah, it kind of feels like a hangover spot for Ao tonight, especially with Kobe back.
Do we like Looney and thinks he starts and plays 30 minutes with Dre probable? No. If Draymond Green's in, I don't think so at all. If Draymond Green's out, I had interest in Looney, but what's his price today? So DraftKings price seems fine. FanDuel price, it's pretty hard to get to. But 4,200 if Draymond is out and Looney's starting. I mean, this is going to go up. I don't know if they do something weird where Draymond starts and Looney starts. He's probably still okay at the 4,200, but I'm not going to. I don't even think I was getting any. Did you have any interest in Looney or anyone else in Golden State, assuming Steph is in?
Yeah, I wasn't really getting to anyone here. Just tough matchup. You mentioned if Draymond would sit here, maybe we could look at Looney at 4,200, but yeah, it's just a tough team overall here to target.
Yeah, I'm getting a few percent of Steph and Andrew Wiggins on FanDuel, and then 10% of Looney on DraftKings, and that's it for this team. But maybe that changes later. It's a late game, so we're always going to end up late swapping stuff in.
Yeah.
Did want to go to the other side of that Laker game before I lose my train of thought and look at Atlanta. So tell me about Jalen Johnson.
Oh, dude, you're talking about my favorite play on the slate in tournaments right here.
Yeah.
10% owned. I mean, I know he's not up to 9K yet. I'm gonna keep saying this. Like, he just seems under owned every slate. I know it's not the best matchup on paper, but still love him here in tournaments. 10%, gonna probably be at least double that. And then, yeah, for the rest of Atlanta, Hunter Bogdanovich, you can maybe fire them up. I know you love Hunter. I don't know if this is like the best spot, but at 12%, I don't hate it. What are your kind of thoughts here for Atlanta?
I don't love Hunter, but he's a guy that feels forgotten a lot of the time. Not sure that he starts tonight, but it's just 5,800 on FanDuel. I don't even think I can consider him 5K. It's just such a deep play in an early game. Because imagine we get some value that opens up later that just looks much better than DeAndre Hunter at 5K. You're probably going to be a little upset, but he's pulling 11% ownership. We do have him projected for 28 minutes. He's probably okay to mix in a couple percent. I didn't get any on my initial run. I'm only getting Jalen Johnson from this team. And then, I actually did get DeAndre Hunter on DraftKings, sorry. And then forcing in some Bogdan. I called him out as a pretty strong play last time. Like intuitively, I thought he was one of the better value plays on the slate, but the projections didn't think so. Ended up performing over expectation, but the minutes were still not there. So that's my fear. I still think he's a fine play, especially against the Lakers. But I mean, the minutes are kind of capped.
Yeah, agreed. And then were you getting any Capella? He's projected to be pretty chalky on DraftKings.
Dude, I talk about this every day. How's Capella like? I mean, even 17% honestly feels a little bit low for today. Not that I'm that far over the 17%, but he puts up good scores. His price doesn't move. Like, why doesn't his price move? We haven't projected for 24 minutes. I did get a few percent of Capella on DraftKings. Maybe I force in some on FanDuel, but it's like if we're playing Capella on FanDuel, we're playing him over Ayton, which is a fine pivot. But I have Ayton projected so much stronger today.
Yeah, I'm kind of in the same boat. Maybe a couple percent, but I've never played this guy. I don't know if it's just like a bias for me. Yeah, he's fine. I'm definitely not going to get 20% or 16%, but I think he's still fun.
Yeah, we called out Laurie. Who do we like other than Sochan with Vassell out? Let's take a closer look at the Spurs. I can tell you Keldon Johnson is one of my higher exposed guys. Just price is just so stupid on both sites. Ownership is appropriate given the price. We haven't projected for 30 minutes. Maybe it's a little bit high of a projection, but if he's playing well, he stays on the court. Love Stephon Castle. Mentioned we love Sochan. And then Champagne, I think, is actually the strongest low-owned tournament play from this team. We've seen him blow up. Sometimes he doesn't, but at 5 and 2% compared to everyone else, this is the direct leverage if you're not getting to as much of these other guys.
Yeah, for sure. And he's been like I think on the model last night too. He was pretty high up there, so definitely a model approved play.
We had some fuckery going around yesterday with Zach Collins and Bassey, huh? They started Sochan at center, and it just screwed everyone up because, I mean, I think they were talking about playing Collins and Bassey in lineups together on DraftKings, and then we got that news that Collins wasn't starting, and it's like, dude, our exposures are freaking screwed today. So, I mean, are you expecting anything different with that starting lineup?
I think they probably start. This is kind of my hunch. I think they probably start Collins here against Sabonis, but I mention this all the time. It's Popovich. They even trolled. They put in
It's not Pop. It's not Pop. It's the
well, it's not
assistant.
Pop.
It's the
It's
assistant.
Oh,
Pop's still out.
okay. They're still trolling then. They even played Mamu yesterday. I don't know if you saw that.
Yeah.
He was in
Yep.
rotation. So I think they start Collins, probably back it up with Bassey, but who knows, man? They could easily start Sohan once again.
Yeah, and so regardless, I expect Sohan to start. Honestly, he's probably their best player with Wemby out, and so absolutely fine with these ownerships. I think I'm probably going to be over on FanDuel. Don't see how you don't just play him at 6,300. Is it possible he fails? Obviously, but at 6,300, this is just such a strong play today.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, you got it.
I was just gonna say, are you worried about any potential? I know it's not like talked about, but any like potential minutes restrictions on a back to back off an injury?
Nope.
No. Okay.
Unless the coach said something. No, because I don't remember what Sochan's injury was, but he's fine.
Okay.
If Zach Collins starts 5K and 5,500, I'm glad they at least raised the price. We have to make decisions. I think he's good because he's going to be under-owned probably if we get that news late. And then Charles Bassey, 4K. I still think it's okay to mix him in, assuming Collins starts. If Collins doesn't start, Bassey is probably like a deep play. And I say that now, he's going to put up 4 blocks in 7 minutes. But yeah, I think Collins is in play if he starts.
Yeah, agreed. Definitely just Collins for me if he starts.
Most teams don't play good defense. And the thing is, it's really hard to play good defense in the NBA because the talent is just so good now. Middleton unlikely to start. Yeah, so that's another wrench thrown in that Bucks. Like, if Middleton's going to take minutes away from, we haven't projected for 16. Who's he take minutes away from? Like, maybe Torian, AJ Green, Gary Trent. We have Torian projected for 24 minutes. We've never had Torian projected for this low on this Bucks team.
Yeah. I don't know, man. That with Middleton just being in, it kind of hurts all those bench guys.
Yeah, I still don't think I'm doing anything with this team other than a few percent of these top 3 guys.
Yeah.
Avdia 5,900 on FanDuel. I love Avdia as a player. And if he was like $1,000 cheaper, I'd say yeah. But we only have him projected for 25. And a lot of times I think these guys have potential for more. I don't know if I see it with Avdia. Chauncey Billups is such a weird coach. And so it's just, I think it's a little bit too deep because if you're playing Avdia like over Jeremy Sochan, that could literally be a 25 fantasy point difference by the end of the night.
Oh yeah, for sure. I don't have any Avdia either.
And me saying that, you don't have to play Sochan. I think he's one of the top plays. Model agrees. LeBron's in. Can you play Grant and Ayton together? You could. If I was hand building, though, I don't think I would.
Yeah, I think. What's Grant's price on FanDuel? I think on FanDuel I'd be more willing to play both than on DraftKings.
Was that the 5,700 one? No, he's 6K on FanDuel.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not setting a rule for it, and given how much these guys are getting owned, I probably am going to have that combo, which I'm okay with in my 150 set. If I'm hand building one lineup, I'm not doing that.
Yeah, I agree there.
If LeBron plays, you're worried about Russell. I don't think we should be, because the thing is, D'Angelo Russell is still, on DraftKings anyway, he's still priced kind of to be coming off the bench. Like, this was not his starting role price, so he's still a little bit cheap. I guess it's somewhere in the middle of his starting and his bench price, but 45% ownership after he burned everybody last time. I wanted to kind of fade Russell last time. Didn't work out. I kept lowering him, and by the time lock came, he was still in there because just the salary worked too well. Still got the 30 minutes. Lakers have been getting blown the F out. But a big thing for Russell is he gets some garbage time minutes, which is ridiculous, but it's really good for us for DFS. And so 5,400 at 45%, I think it's probably okay. And then the 6K on FanDuel, 20%, I think it's a little bit heavy. We have some pivots in that 6K range at point guard, the Jazz guys, Chris Paul, but it's probably okay.
Yeah, I like the matchup here once again for him. I know they've been bad, but it's just without Reeves here, it's tough not to like Russell.
I got 6% DLO on FanDuel right now, so if that tells you anything. You have Grant and Ayton in the lineup. Yeah, I mean, like I was saying, like I'm not setting a rule. I'm okay with to allowing it. It just if you're building one lineup intuitively, I don't know. It could work, obviously. Shaden Sharp's a starter. I would expect him to start. Yeah. Sochan highly owned. Is he a lock? He's not a lock, but he is my highest exposed player today. Jayhawk, you got Paul George or LeBron single entry? Kind of different price points.
Definitely LeBron if I'm picking from those
Yeah,
two.
and we didn't really touch on Philadelphia. Let's just we ran kind of long today. Let's just touch on Philadelphia real quick. No one is pulling ownership. This is the first game. To me, Orlando is the worst fantasy matchup. A lot of it has to do with pace. I mean, 42 less points than that Indiana Bulls game. So, I mean, is there anything to be looking at here?
I don't know, man. It all pretty much would depend on Drummond for me. I think he's gonna play, but if he wouldn't, maybe you could take a stab on Yabu. But even then, it's not a great matchup, so probably not for me.
I agree with that. Yeah, if Drummond's out, Yabu seems fine. I have 0% exposure to this team, though, on both sides.
Yeah, love
PG
that.
is okay. I think PG is the guy I'd be okay getting a few percent of, but I'm not gonna like force him in. And then Orlando, I mean, it's the same story for me every day. I'm still looking at Franz Wagner, Jalen Suggs, another guy in that 6K range. Goga, super GPP play, but everyone else, I mean, Mo Wagner. We just got word that Jonathan Isaac was questionable late, actually. And so if he ends up out, that might open up a couple extra minutes for Mo Wagner. The 4,500 price is still really good over on DraftKings, and him having the power forward eligibility makes that 5K on FanDuel look okay.
Yeah, I think we got news he did get ruled out like 15 minutes ago, so maybe a
Oh,
fire.
he's out. Oh,
Yeah,
okay. He's out. Nice.
mobile. Yep.
Yeah, so maybe we'll. Oh, great. Got logged out. Um, I can't show my stuff on screen. How do I do this? All right. What are we on? Talk to me about the rest of the Magic. Anything else you see?
Yeah, so Mo Wagner we mentioned, and then I think we have to cover Franz Wagner because he's just been really, really good for Orlando. I think he's totally fine, 11, 17%. Probably just going to mix him probably around there. I think I have like around 15% Wagner, Franz Wagner, and then love Mo Wagner at his ownership now. And then Suggs and KCP, I want to hear your take, but I have not been playing Suggs, and I know KCP has been going off, but I just haven't been there either.
Yeah, it's so hard to get to anyone from this team besides for me, except for Mo Wagner or Franz Wagner. And then Mo Wagner, I'll have to adjust. I don't know if the model's adjusted for that yet, but it's a tough one. First game, I really don't want to take up roster spots here.
Yeah, agreed.
Play Goga. He killed you last game. Seen the story 11,000 times. Yep. Yeah, Goga could be in line for a couple extra minutes too, so that might be an even better GPP play, especially on FanDuel. Everyone's going to Aiden. Oh, Drummond's in. Okay. So Chan won't cover Sabonis. They'll put Barnes or Champagne. Oof. It's Sabonis rebounds over. Yeah, so Chan, broken finger conditioning should be fine. Mike Conley, thank you for mentioning him because this is a guy that I really, really hate playing in DFS, but he shows up every single day. 5,000, 4,900 minutes are volatile. We haven't projected for 29. It's like it could be plus or minus 5 minutes from there. Projected for decent ownership. I mean, what are your views on Mike Conley?
Yeah, you nailed it. I've never been really very high on him as a play in DFS at all. He's older, man. He hasn't been producing at his typical rate, so I'm not really there tonight for me.
The thing is, he wins tournaments like once a week,
Yeah,
once a month. So the median projection is going to be terrible. And look at these minutes, man. He's going to show up every day. I'd rather him just let him tank everyone else's lineups, not mine.
yeah,
So if he shows up last play type in guy, that's fine. But that's really all he is a guy that makes lineups work.
yeah.
Malik Monk, yeah, his price is up. I thought he was a good play yesterday. I still think he's a good play today. Malik Monk, 7K. I think it's fine. Once he gets up to like 8K, if he gets up there, then we can start like, oh man, this is kind of expensive. But around 7K, I mean, 30 plus minutes for Malik Monk, yeah, it's going to be fine.
Yeah, since starting, he's been pretty consistent there for the Kings, so I don't hate it.
I will mention De'Aaron Fox. I think is a pretty legit GPP play. 3 and 4% ownership at a price point that people just really aren't getting to a point guard. So maybe you even end up with a slightly different lineup construction, leading to more leverage. And yeah, Malik Monk 4 and 3%. Let's take some shots, dude. Like yesterday, he was owned. Why isn't he owned today? This is a 228 total. It's not a bad fantasy environment.
Yeah, and I think he only like 400 price bump from yesterday. So yeah, totally fine with him at that, especially at the ownership.
Turner, Laurie, or assuming Collins starts, Collins and ND 9600 utility. Man, it's a lot of math to do right now, but 9600 utility. I mean, LeBron, Franz Wagner. So we'll say, let's see, Turner, Laurie, or Collins, and I'm assuming that's Zach Collins and Franz Wagner or LeBron. I got to think the first one has the higher ceiling, but the second one, if you're playing like cash or a smaller field, is probably, I don't like to say safe, but the second one feels a little bit more floor.
Yeah, I would say the same thing probably, especially if you get LeBron.
And we just got this stupid news that Wemby's now a game time decision. Like, how do you not know if Wemby's playing? It's 3:30 in the afternoon. Yeah, if Wemby's in, I still think I'm going to be interested in Sochan. I'd have to see how the model updates, though. I have no idea.
Spurs, man, can we just take him off the slate? Just get him off it. Get him out of here, dude. Just insane.
He was doubtful.
How do you go from doubtful to game time decision?
I just got to think that they upgraded him midday, so there is a chance he plays.
I think he's gonna play, dude.
Well, again, perfect plug. This is why you should sign up for OccupyFantasy.com. We have plans starting at as little as $7 a week. It's $1 a day. Gets you access to the model, our plugs for the other sports if you play them. And it's just really important to see the updates after the stream. We talk about the stuff on stream. You see the data on the screen here, but the post-lock late swap is really where the leverage comes in. So really important. Coming out in the Discord, too. Get some opinions on what we think or give us your opinion. We'd love to hear it.
I mean, late swap's what won me the contest last night. Or not won me, but won me all that money. So late swap is just huge, huge, huge.
Who's my priorities on DraftKings? Gosh. We'll try and build out a dummy, and we can get something there. Spurs trolling, yeah.
Classic.
Sexton. I mentioned him and like Keontae George. I don't know. I kind of question the ceiling on Sexton, depending on his ownership. I'm around the field right now. I don't love it. Don't hate it. I think I hate it, though.
I hate it more than I love it, too.
Would we play both Utah guards in one lineup? No,
definitely not.
No, but the thing is, it's like overall in DFS, day-to-day, long-term, I don't think that's a rule you want to set in your exposures, even though it sounds like it would never work. Like, if it works, you win a tournament. So what do we think about Furphy? I'm just going to mention it because our Discord was blowing up about him last time. And like, what's a Furphy? And then he started going off. And now I see some questions here. He's not in the model. We haven't projected for less than 10 minutes. If you're playing him, you're really just hoping something changes in the rotation. Nemhard doesn't start the second half, something. Because I want to say, who did Furphy start for in the second half? Was it Quentin Jackson?
Jackson, I think, yeah.
Okay. And so we don't have Jackson projected for 10 minutes either. And so with Nemhard in, it's just that's even less minutes for Furphy. I can't imagine getting to any percent of him today.
No, Furphy. That's not even a question for me.
Like in the showdown, I like maybe a few percent in the showdown, but on the main slate, it's just so deep, and it will work. Sometimes he will have a good game when these guys just are unplayable, but you just got to live with it.
Yeah, with Nemhard in, that's what kind of does it for me. Probably none for me.
Any Lillard love? He's okay. Yeah, I think he's fine to mix in. He's so low owned that you don't have to play much to get leverage on the field on him. 3:30. Where am I at? I'm in Los Angeles, my man. How does Wemby affect Johnson and Sochan? For Johnson, he would affect the minutes more for Johnson and obviously the rate of production. And then Sochan, he's also going to affect the FPPM. But the thing is, Sochan was so underpriced that with Wemby in, he's still a little bit underpriced. So he's still a strong play, just maybe not the strongest play on the slate like he was. Jayhawk, I'm sorry for going over here, man. But
no, I think it's Smitty in Discord.
So. Yeah. Okay. Cool. Sorry, Smitty. I'm cutting into your audience, man. But so on DraftKings, how do you want to do this? First player in?
I mean, we got to go Sochan, right?
Yeah, D'Angelo Russell.
Yeah, Russell too.
It's man, we had this discussion last time. Like, why is D'Angelo the first player in?
No Reeves. That's what I'm saying.
Because he's the best play, and that's why.
Yep.
I'm going to hold off on the other Spurs guys for this Wemby stuff, but if Wemby's still out, I think it's definitely okay to play 3 or 4 Spurs in the same lineup. I don't have a problem with it. Maybe 3 is better than 4.
I prefer 3. Yeah, if you can.
Obi Toppin's not really model approved, even though he's pulling value, so I don't want to put him in the dummy, but I do think he's an okay play.
Should we get Hallie in here? I think we both like Hallie, right?
Where's Hallie on the model? 14.5.
Maybe not.
I'm going to put Hallie in there, but anyone watching this, just like you can swap him out for anyone else. 8,300. Yeah, so don't think it's like Hallie in the core. Just, I mean, Hallie's fine. I don't want to talk you guys out of playing Halliburton. Sorting by DK value and ownership. We might just have to plug in these Spurs guys. Keldon Johnson at 4,500 is probably still a little bit too cheap, even with Wemby in.
Yeah, I still think he's way too cheap.
This is kind of tough.
It's very tough.
It's like this news affects everything.
Well, you're just not jamming nearly as many San Antonio as you were previously.
It's going to affect the ownership on all these guys. Like the value plays might even become more owned if people want to play Wemby.
Yeah, dude. What are we gonna do with Wemby now? If you play, it's like, are we playing Wemby at no ownership? I don't know. Probably not.
Who are my highest exposed players on DraftKings? All right, Stephon Castle at 4,800. We'll just slide him in because he fits and model approved. Top of ownership, no problem there. Center is like, what is this, dude? Everyone's questionable today.
I'm thinking maybe we both like AD. We got AD or in the mid tier. Who did you like in the mid tier?
On DraftKings, I still like Aiden, not as much as on FanDuel. Miles Turner is fine for GPP. I don't know. Walker Kessler was okay at 6,300. Brook Lopez. To me, these guys are just all GPP plays. Maybe AD is the clear pay up.
That's what I lean, yeah.
He's second on the model, so we can just side with that. And then I'm going so overtime. I'm starting to get nervous. I'm sweating. Clint Capella, 5,400. Kind of just mix in like a GPP play.
Yeah, sure. I'm fine with it.
Kuminga, Carter, Hunter, Champagne, Werder off the bench. So we do have some options here. It's so tough to build out a core without knowing what's going on with Wemby because it affects the Spurs guys a lot.
Yeah, core is super tough right now with this news.
Yep. So that's why you guys should join the Discord. Instructions are in the description below. Then Smitty can help finish walking you guys through the slate. Really appreciate you guys being here today. We will be back tomorrow, same time. Yeah, DK has Wemby as a doubtful. Don't listen to anything DK says. Just trust any other source, probably more. Whatever it says on DraftKings and FanDuel just isn't that reliable. But Jayhawk, any final words before we get out of here?
No, I'll let you get out of here. Good luck tonight, guys, and monitor that Wemby news.
See you guys. Thanks.